Well, hi and welcome to my shop this morning. So it's been a couple of days since I've been in here because the weather has been fantastic here and it's another fantastic day. But I'm in here because I just can't stay out, it seems. So I'm not going to put a lot of time in here, maybe half an hour, and look into one specific question at this point, and that is the situation with grounding this radio. Now the last video I attempted the procedure for neutralizing this radio. Had a lot of trouble with it. At the end of it, I don't think I said anything. I wasn't very happy with the result. I just did not get the feeling that things had really worked out properly. In the meantime, Mr. R, the owner, shot me a note saying, hey, you don't have a ground on the radio. With a ground it works a lot better. And in fact, he's without knowing it, he's poking at one of the weaknesses here in my shop. Aside from the ground that comes along with all the outlets and the power distribution system, I do not have a separate ground wire into here to a ground rod or a water service pipe, but I do now. So just ignoring this is not a regular power cord. This is not plugged in the wall or anything. This green wire is attached directly to the water service pipe in my house where it comes into my house. So now I've checked the resistance between this wire and something that's grounded, basically a case of one of my pieces of equipment here, and it shows that this is definitely connected back to the house neutral system, or grounding system maybe is a better word for it. So this is a successful ground, so we can attach this to the radio and see what happens. Now the reason I'm not using a ground, aside from the fact that I really didn't have one, is I've been using a loop antenna. So a loop antenna works without a ground. In fact, that's one of the features of using a loop antenna, is you don't need to earth the antenna. It's got a push and pull going at the radio like this. You could think of a regular wire antenna as doing this. There's no pullback unless you put a ground on the radio. The thing is, when I went to supply the signal, let me turn on my signal generator here. I think we can anticipate using it. I decided to try to follow what it suggested in the guidance for doing the neutralization, and that's not to make a direct connection, but in fact to make a loose connection. And you saw me kind of leave the lead from the signal generator just laying here with a bit of wire from here, and it did get some signal into the radio, but maybe under those circumstances a ground would have made a big difference. So I have a couple of ways of doing this. One is I can get rid of the loop antenna, bring a piece of wire out here, kind of loop it around on my bench, take this lead, kind of lay it in there just like it was, and then attach the ground lead to the radio. That might make a big difference right there. Secondly, I can just go ahead and do what I always do, or almost always do, just connect this directly to the antenna, both leads. That'll certainly supply a strong signal. It'll drop the impedance of the antenna connection right down to 50 ohms, the same thing as the signal generator. But what does it matter really, because the impedance change is only onto this tube, and this tube is not neutralized. It's the next tube and beyond that get neutralized. So I'm not sure why they're suggesting what they're suggesting. So we can experiment with this stuff and just see how the radio works under these different circumstances, and then I can wing my way through the process again, the neutralization process, see if we don't come out ahead in the game somehow. So first thing we got to do is turn this on and have a listen, pick a station, and get an idea of how strong it's receiving here. So just checking around and make sure nothing has changed from the last time I was here. Nope, all looks good. One of the things I've been preoccupying myself with outside of the shop here is some interesting purchases at yard sales. So I think I'm probably going to throw together a video and just show you some of the stuff I'm picking up at yard sales that I'm fiddling around with. Okay, dim bulbs all look normal. And on the volume is minimum. The volume is 0 right now. Let's give it a little bit of volume. Bingo. Now, remember, the sound from the speaker is really crappy because I have the speaker face down on my bench. So it sounds a little like somebody's got their hand over her mouth. Here we are. Let's turn it up. Oh, lots of volume there. Turn it down. How far up before we hear it? That's close to halfway on the volume there. More accurately, it's a little bit more than a quarter of a full revolution. There we are. Let me just tune the antenna to make sure it's optimized.
Help people over, help them with that second confidence side of things, is help get them educated. And we've got a few tickets left. It's not the end of the show yet.
Okay, that made a big difference. So antenna optimized. Now the volume. That's about a quarter. It's about a 90-degree turn there.
In just a second, you're going to have a chance to pick up a set of tickets to one of these classes. So get your phones ready, and if you're driving, now's a good time to pull over. Also included with your pass.
Still sounds distorted. Could be the speakers though. Okay, now experimenting away. With the loop antenna, here's the ground. I'm just going to touch it. It may make some loud pops and stuff. Okay, so listen to the difference. I mean, this is a loop antenna, not meant to have a ground.
Now, Larry, when we're kind of in this lifestyle conversation here, you know, we touched on a little bit as far as having that passive income free up the time. But what are some of the other things you think it's important to share with our, you know, everybody says, it's true people say over and over again, yeah, I'll get to it. Well, if you're one of those people who have been saying, I'll get to it for the last 5 years, you're not getting to it. And so this is the point in time where you got to really honestly.
So the distortion can also be an overdriving of one of these tubes. Oh boy, could be lots of things. But when things are set right, the distortion is minimal. It's really quite listenable. So applying the ground with the loop antenna is certainly not helping out. Just seemed to introduce some noise. So we'll switch now from a loop antenna to a outdoor antenna. And what we're going to do is stay away from the volume control. Keep telling myself that. Okay, how about a ground with no antenna? Oh, you're not going to start this now, are you? So this introduces a bit of noise. And I'm going to guess that that's noise related to activity in my house electrical system. I really don't know what exactly that is. So let's put an outdoor antenna on. Something about having a grounded wire flying around in my shop that makes me a little uncomfortable. Antenna. So we'll go for the outdoor antenna here. So now there's two leads coming from the outdoor antenna. So because I'm using a shielded wire all the way back, all the way out to a balun hanging from a dipole antenna. The shielded cable, but it's a mile long to get there from here. Because it's shielded, there's a ground wire. Is this really grounded? Probably it is. Hey, let's check. Let's check and find out. Because the wire's running all over my house. Somewhere it's probably getting grounded. And we could check with a voltmeter. Which would be a good idea. Listen to that radio. Son of a gun. Looking for any hint as to what it might be. Okay, from the ground of my antenna system to the house ground. Four ohms, 5 ohms. So grounded, but it's a long lead. The long wire grounded at one end can be called an antenna. The shield on my lead may be as much of an antenna as the inside. Remember I said this goes to a balun? Let's hook it up despite all the noise. Ooh, not that one. Not that one. This one. Ground first. Got my imagination, or did the radio get quieter? I think we'll attribute it to imagination. Okay, antenna on. The antenna's not quite on. I have to go throw an antenna switch to liven this up. I've been standing in front of the camera a lot, I apologize. That's what I've been doing. Okay, I gotta flip on that antenna. Oh, okay. Wait a minute, was this doing this when I left? I guess not. By this I just mean receiving a signal. Okay, so we're feeding an antenna in. This is kind of a ground. Let's lift the ground off, see what happens. Okay, let's put on a different ground and see what happens. Okay, so now I know that happened all kind of quick there. You may not have quite have caught on to what happened. But attaching this ground, my fresh new ground, improved the situation, boosted the volume, and got rid of some of the noise. Let's go back the other way. Ground off. I didn't hear any change. Okay, so makes a little bit of trouble. Makes a little bit of trouble. Yeah, makes a little bit of difference. Don't worry Okay, so now let's get towards what we really want to do, which is redo the neutralization here. I'm going to turn the radio down a little bit. Notice the clicking and the popping is not sensitive to the volume at all. It disappears, of course. So I turned the volume down, the clicking and popping stayed, but it didn't stay. That's bizarre that there was some kind of delay there. Let me turn it back up. That certainly showed the clicking and popping coming with it. Let me turn it down again quickly.
Meanwhile, we gotta wait till tomorrow for our turn when Canada takes on Cameroon. That game goes at 3 o'clock. Listen to us anywhere. Download it.
A quiet spot. I think that's just antenna noise. That was me putting the ground on the antenna. This radio is plugged into a isolation transformer right now. So supposedly there are no ground connections made to it through the power. So when I put this ground on, should be the only ground that's going on the antenna. It's a little hard to picture this, but in my imagination it flips the radio over. That's how I that's how I picture it in my head. Okay, let's not flip over here. Put the ground on. It shouldn't matter much whether I put it on the ground or put it on the antenna. That's pretty. Now it matters. So we'll go back to we'll go to the signal generator first without its ground lead, which is kind of a weird way to do this. But I am experimenting. So this ground and this ground are very similar electrically. So this guy's tuned in, I think, just above 640 now, I think. So we'll move the signal generator. It's way up high at 1400. Medium power. I don't think it showed up at all. Higher power. Where are you? Got the right leads hooked up? No, I do not. I do not have. Wait a minute. No, I do not. Let's try this again. Ooh, signal generator. Careful there. That's right. 660. I tuned the radio off of 640 and raised it a bit. So 660 all makes sense. All that clicking and popping. Son of a gun. Okay. Try to stay focused on one thing, but that popping is really throwing me off. So now we're going to take the ground off, and we'll put the signal ground on the way I would usually do this. Okay, so the volume is right down. Let's turn it up a bit, just a bit. I got rid of a lot of noise. I'll hook up the signal. This should quiet the radio, I think. No difference. Surprisingly. Well, you know, there's not much coming in antenna-wise. There's no antenna hooked up to it. So the antenna was this little red wire here, and that's not going to pick up much. So maybe attaching the ground, well, obviously it didn't make a lot of difference. Quite surprising. Surprising to me. Okay, under this circumstance now, we're going to try and do the neutralization process again. Okay, now we need a special tube. Oh, you know what? No, there's there's one more thing I have to do. In the instructions, it says after performing the neutralization process, the last thing you should do is go to screw number 4 and turn it counterclockwise 1/4 turn. I never did that. So we're going to do that now, but I want to do it with the antenna hooked up. Crying out loud. Just something I kind of overlooked here. So let's take this off. Put on a loop again. Supposedly, turning back the last control will raise the sensitivity of the radio, even though it's pretty sensitive now. Okay, I think we're ready here. First tube to do is this one. Once again, I don't normally pull tubes out of operating radios, but I think I'm gonna. Now my installation here looks like it's just about done. So maybe this. Do not want it heating. Now this is a very weak tube, so even if the heater did come on and it came to life, we might not even hear it. Quite certain there's no heater there. Okay. Now what we want to do is make the signal as weak as possible using 20,000 different tools here. Let's turn it up. Well, I just don't hear it. Can't get much weaker than that. Yeah, let's just checking the antenna. How am I going to do this if I can't hear it at all? Well, I can mess it up and see if the I don't like it. Let me put this right back. Okay, don't like what's happening here. So we're going to switch to the signal generator where I can pound the radio with a signal. In the instructions it says use a powerful radio station, but you know, that's back in 1929 or 1930. That's good instructions for back then. I'll tune that in. Okay, so we can hear it. There. Now we're going to try to nullify it. Big steel shaft. Neutralize it, I guess is the word for that. Doesn't work. Okay, I'd say that's minimum. If I take that tube out and put this tube in, I think this radio's going to scream. Turn it way down. Yeah, it was turned way up. Take out our dummy tube. Okay, take out the next tube, this one here. Pop. Notice the crackling is continuing. We're doing a little crackle tracing at the same time here. Okay, this tube goes in. No heat. Volume up. Have to raise it almost full to hear that. Listen to the crackling. I think there's a thunderstorm outside. Ooh. It's too stiff. What was I using last time? Good, I think that's good. Like that, volume down, test tube out, tube back in. Wow, this thing's just going to town, isn't it? There's lots of volume. Next tube out, this one here. Special tube in. Not lighting. Volume up. Again, almost all the way. Neutralize. Oh yeah. There we go. I'm getting a warm and fuzzy feeling. Neutralized. Volume down. Crackle still going the whole time. Not being influenced at all. Tube in. So what's different this time around is I have the signal generator connected directly to the antenna. And things are working much better. Volume up to hear what's happening. Lovely. Where'd the crackle go? Hey, what's this? That's a couple times this volume control has been implicated. Huh? Well, that's interesting. Now the volume control operates a resistor on the antenna way up here. Hey, listen. How come it went quiet? And another volume zapping technique, or sapping I guess would be the word, sapping technique, partway through the radio. Where'd all the crackling go? So what happened here? I messed around. Then it's gone quiet. Okay, this tube in. No heat. Volume up. A little bit of tone. That's full volume. Doesn't get any higher. Last one. Very close, but not dead on. Okay, now this is the one they say after you get it all set, turn that 1/4 turn counterclockwise, and it will boost the sensitivity of the radio. But I want to do that with the antenna connected. So volume down. Now this time I feel like I've probably achieved the neutralization, or close enough that we can be happy about it. We'll do this with the loop antenna again. The loop antenna provides a very strong signal. Get rid of my my unwelcome ground wire here. So I've experimented like that a number of times now. Each experiment has not encouraged me to make a permanent ground connection into my shop each time. So same thing again. So consequently, that's a temporary wire laying across the floor here. If I really need one, I'm going to do it that way. Temporary, because I've never had good luck with that. Okay, get under there somehow. Okay, now we're looking for the magic this time. Climb up a bit. Oh, I still have the dead tube. So the Scotch tape has worked out well, but I put 2 layers of Scotch tape. That's a mistake. The outer layer has kind of been mushed off, but the lower layer has stayed on. You can't even see it. Very, very thin. Successfully interrupting the heater. Volume down. Yes. Tune in. Ignoring the distortion. Now, this should get more sensitive as I turn this back. Here we go. Let me put it back. Quarter turn. Well, doesn't make any difference as far as I can see. Okay, well, we'll leave it a quarter turn. Okay, we're going to signal trace and look for the static. Where's the static?
And for groceries. This will result in the average family paying $648 a year by 2022. Ontario has a better way, holding the biggest polluters
RE-45 coffee shops, they use only the best. But Jessica wants to open one.
Tune to a quiet spot. RF. So we're looking for this crashing sound. Let's start with audio. And right on the output. There it is. Okay, now we'll look at the input to this tube. Does not appear to be there. We'll look at the output from this tube. It's there. Or is it? Okay, I'm going to pull out one of the tubes in the string here to really quiet down the radio on the assumption all the noise is coming from up here. We'll pull out this guy here. Okay. Volume up and down. Appears to have zero effect. So it could be all the volume controls ahead of this tube, I'm not sure. There's the crackle. Come on, crackle. Come on, you were going like crazy earlier. There we go. Input. Oh, sorry about that. Input to the detector. Don't hear anything. Output. This is just what we did before. Wow. What else have we got on this tube here? This is the cathode. Testing the cathode is pretty much shorting this thing out, shorting out the signal tracer. So, okay, so it looks like ahead of this tube, nothing. After it, something. But so what's that implicate? It implicates this capacitor. If I pull the tube out and what happens? If I pull the tube, I think it all goes quiet. Let's just turn this out. Okay, coming out. And okay, coming out. It goes quiet. Boy, doesn't that make you think that that tube is doing it? So I have another tube. Let's put my other one in. This is a weaker 27. I've done this before and my conclusion was it's not the 27. Isn't that something, eh? So how can it not be the 27 under these conditions? How is this even possible? Then you have nothing on the grid. Let me listen again. I'll turn the radio. Okay, so the radio is volumed right down. The tube's out. Input. You know what? I'm listening to audio input. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Go to RF. that make sense? I'm not sure I'm making sense here. RF. So there's stuff there, but it sounds like just regular kind of noise, not this clicking and popping. So again, that's on the grid. You know, it's going to be the socket in the end. Socket or this capacitor. Let's try here again. I don't hear it. I hear it over there, but I don't hear it over here. What? Oh, because now I'm on RF, of course. Can't hear it with RF. That's why. It's got to be that capacitor. Got to be that guy. See, he's getting nervous because he knows I'm onto him. Power off. Okay, so we're gonna parallel this with another capacitor and see if that isn't the crackle monster there. It could easily be. I got to dig up a capacitor here. Okay, so the new capacitor is paralleled in from the terminal to the ground. I just got to cut that little wire. Actually, no, rather than cut it, I'm going to lift it because I may want to put it back. Okay, I'm going to cut it. Just there it is. Free as a bird. Will this incessant crackle be gone? Okay, so I'm going to put odds on this. I'm going to give this one 66.3 odds on this working. Okay, so I've made a pretty minor change here, really. There we go. Ha! I thought for sure I had it. It's going to be the socket itself. This is really what it's coming down to. The socket itself. So, what can I do for a socket? I've heard of this happening. I don't know if I've ever really had this happen myself. It had to be some kind of a breakdown right in the socket. How can that really happen? What do I do? I don't know. What do I do? It's a mystery. But for now, I'm going to stop. The situation here is I think I've got the neutralization done. The most suspicious capacitor. This has been suspicious all along. Turns out he's not the problem, and I'm left with this noisy socket. I don't know, douse it with alcohol or something. I don't know. Measure resistances between pins, strip all the wires off. Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's all too much. I'm gonna go away and think about it because the sun is shining and that's where I'm heading now. So thanks for watching, and bit by bit, See you on the next video.